Thank you for tuning in to As It Lays. Today's subject is Gwyneth Paltrow. Gwyneth, thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
We'll just get started with the questions.
Okay.
What is your spirit animal?
An eagle.
Are printed magazines still relevant?
Marginally.
What do you never leave home without?
I never leave home without my cell phone, my car keys, and lip balm.
What's the most incorrect thing you've ever heard about yourself?
Well, there have been a number. What is the most incorrect? That I have a stick up my ass.
Do you ever feel like a commodity?
All the time.
Is there a person in your life who helps you connect with your spiritual side?
There are a number of people in my life that help me connect with my spiritual side. I have a yoga teacher named Eddie who also officiated at my wedding. He definitely helps me connect. And my meditation teacher, actually have two of them. I think those three people.
What are your thoughts on Amazon.com?
My thoughts on Amazon.com are that I'm in awe of the scope and size and breadth of the business. I think that Jeff Bezos is an absolute genius. And yet, it's slightly terrifying.
When it comes to your personal life, would you say that you're a good editor?
I think that I have become a good editor in my personal life. I don't think I could have said that about myself 20 years ago.
When I say the word globalism, what's the first thing you think of?
I think of, on one level, the degradation of intimacy, because I think technology is what makes globalism possible, and it's also very isolating. But then I think of the idea that, in a more meta sense, globalism connotes that we are all one and all connected, and that in that respect I find it very optimistic.
What don't the people have a right to know?
The people don't have a right to know what the subject deems private.
Which golden girl do you identify with the most?
This is a fascinating question. With a clear answer, Estelle Getty.
Do you ever surprise yourself?
I do. I think one of my favorite parts of partaking in the human experience is that we do have the capacity to surprise ourselves and to push ourselves in ways that take us out of our comfort zones all the time. And so it's not natural, but it's where growth lies.
What gives you hope?
My children really give me hope. They see the world in a way that I think is different and particular to their generation. Yeah, my children.
Have you ever visited a celebrity's grave?
Gosh, I have, in the Paris cemetery. Is Jim Morrison there? I think I've been to Jim Morrison's grave. I'm not a Doors fan.
How long could you go without your phone?
It's a very interesting question because I obviously lived and came of age in a time where there were no cell phones. And now we are so incredibly dependent on them and the kind of dopamine hit we get from looking at them all the time. So I would say that if I made a concerted effort to not have the phone, I think I could go for quite some time. But on a regular day, probably not more than an hour.
If you had a warning label, what would it say?
Caution contains an inner Estelle Getty.
What, if anything, is holding you back?
Probably some unresolved trauma that keeps me in a bit of a cycle of worry and perfectionism.
What does California's legalization of marijuana mean to you?
That we are progressing as a culture, that we are embracing plant medicine, that we are potentially lessening our reliance on pharmaceuticals, and that we are ready to party, guys.
Can a stitch in time really save 9?
I don't believe so.
What do you want the world to know about Gwyneth Paltrow?
I think it's a bit irrelevant because I am, for some inexplicable reason, whoever I am in the culture, and it's somebody that people project whatever it is they want to project on. So I've let go of any attachment to influence those projections or control them. And so I don't want them to know anything.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much for having me.
And thank you for watching. Thank you.
Thank you.